It's the Al Travis Show. We're lucky to have our next guest on. He's our farm guy. He's Jerry Groskreutz. Jerry, how are you doing? Don't you just love technology? If you don't tell me I can put you on YouTube, you're not showing up, buddy. You got to say yes.
Well, I'm in radio for a reason, Al.
You and me both, my friend. Boy, you got back. Let's talk little vacation roundup. You went on vacation. It takes you 3-4 days to be able to just relax and unwind. I can appreciate that.
Yep.
How was it? Did you enjoy it when it was all said and done?
Yep, and it was painful because last week I had to report that you were right about that silly idea of swimming with pigs. It was a big deal in Aruba, and one of the guys that I knew got to know on the ship, he was going to pay $150 on Aruba to swim with a pig. And it was so windy and the waves were so big it had to get canceled. And
lucky you saved $150.
Yeah.
We got to get. I was thinking about this because you know people. We need to get someone with the Minnesota Department of Department of what is it?
PCA.
No, the folks that you go out and try to get people to come here, economic development, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And we got to get them to tourism. There you go. Thank you. Get them to sponsor our little pig outfit thing because we're going to put them on all the lakes, man. 10,000 pigs, 10,000 lakes. You'll see it in Minnesota. This thing writes itself, Jerry. There's big money in the pig swimming business.
Yep, especially in Minnesota with over 10,000 lakes.
That's right.
Boy, you stumbled onto something again.
See, and here, I don't know what a hog goes for these days, fully dressed. I have no idea. But here's what you do. So you get them swimming all summer long. They're getting in great shape. And the last person to swim with the pig has the option of buying the pig and using it for bacon because it's going to be so dang tender and sweet. How about that? Now, the last one will be more than $150, I'm sure.
Although I think there might be one little glitch in that because I did ask, and they use small pigs. They don't use big pigs.
Wonder why that is.
Well, I have to do some more checking. Maybe they're so muscular and so dense, and all they
sink.
Maybe they sink.
Yeah, that would be embarrassing. You got a big old hog there, and the hog sinks, but Al would float. Okay.
Here's the other thing then. We'll have to charge a customer for a diaper for the pig, because we can't have them.
Yeah.
Pigs sometimes do. And then we can also charge them for a life vest for the pig so it floats.
Buddy, there's so many opportunities to make money in the pig business. All right. Because I know you've got to be itching. The weather turned. We're done with the cold stuff. Sun comes out. The ground, I presume, is as wet as you care for, right? I mean, are you ready to put something in the ground here?
I'm going to take a little bit more sunshine yet. However, remember I told you before we went on vacation a couple weeks ago, my tile lines were running, so we must be back. Well, talked to a couple, 3 other farmers, intelligent farmers, well-seasoned. So I'm just well-seasoned, maybe not quite intelligent.
Gotcha.
But they said they would be just fine without having any more rain until Mother's Day.
Okay, and that sounds fair. I love the idea of this. I don't get the sunshine thing.
Warm up the soil and help dry it out so we can get rocking and rolling.
What kind of degrees do you need? I guess my point, sun would help that, I understand. But if we get a 75-degree day, that's bringing up your soil temps. What do you got to get it at? What do you got to get soil temp at to start planting?
Well, we used to say for corn we wanted 50 degrees and soybeans maybe 60 degrees. To tell you the truth, Al, if it's past my crop insurance date and it's like a little bit later on this week, if the soil is fit and dry enough, I don't pay any attention to the temperature. They bred those corn hybrids and soybean varieties for better tolerance, cold tolerance.
Okay.
The only thing I do watch out for, though, especially corn, is if the soil temperature is cold, or even if it's warm, you plant it today, 60-degree soil temperatures and sunshine, but it's supposed to get really cold tomorrow night with some cold rain.
Yeah.
I might hold off because we didn't know anything about this until I got nailed a little bit a few years ago, cold shocking the seed, where the first moisture that kernel of corn would absorb is really cold. You can shock it and it won't germinate properly, and some of them won't.
So is this all worth waiting a week? And then how far down in that soil do you talk? You just sticking your thermometer in the ground just an inch deep, or do you got to go 6 inches deep? How far down has it got to be warm?
2 inches. We planted 2 inches, so that's what you'd be monitoring. But like I said, I don't even have a soil thermometer because I would never use it anyway. If it's dry enough and it's warm, not
Okay.
super cold coming up, and if it's dry enough, like I said, and the soil conditions are fit, it's go time.
All right. I don't know if you heard about this when you're on vacation because you're off in the wherever you were off on a ship. But your president, Trump, put a bunch of tariffs on out there, and the market's gone nutty. That's for sure. How is it going to affect you and as the farmer? And I guess here's my lead-in question. You've planned all this out before vacation. I presume you know exactly what you're paying for your corn and your soybean, and you got bags of it lying around the garage somewhere ready to put out. So tariffs aren't going to affect that. You already bought it.
Yeah, we did kind of catch a break, just like when the COVID shutdown started.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much all of the inputs that we needed for the year were already here, already in place. And that's pretty much the
Okay.
same right now. If
Okay.
something is coming from other countries, it's already here. So we've got some time for this to all settle out. And I've been home for a little over a week now. So I was around last Wednesday and I made a point of not looking at my 401k or Louisa's IRA.
Yeah.
Just whatever's going to happen is going to happen. No panic selling here. And you know what? I was talking to a dairy economist I talked to for 25 years, once a week, talked to him about the dairy markets, but he's an economist. And he said the same thing that the knee jerk reactions, you just got to sit back because what President Trump seems to be doing is negotiating in public.
Yeah.
Whereas going way back, if you wanted to get into the story, we were upset about tariffs and what Canada was doing to us 40 and 50 years ago with milk. And that was negotiated away, and we kind of got thrown under the bus
Yeah.
with the first NAFTA and then the second NAFTA too. They gave up, okay, you can do this, but we're going to be the service sector or whatever. So this has been going on for 40 and 50 years.
But let me ask you this. So you're telling me, I'm just trying to listen here, that for the most part, all your inputs, would that be include insecticides and pesticides and pig poo, you got all that purchased. So tariffs are going to be nothing in 2025. You could then I see it a year from now if this is a problem,
Well,
2026?
coming up this fall,
Okay.
because late summer we start locking in says corn hybrids, soybean varieties we want to plant for next year, fall fertilization. So later on this summer, so let's hope things have settled down between now and
Sure.
then. Other
Well,
than
let's
the grain markets, and really, we were back last week already, all the hullabaloo with the stock market, the financial markets, the outside markets like gold and silver, just absolutely wacko. Grain markets were kind of stable, and we even
uh,
worked just a touch higher.
don't steal their thunder from me. I want to go to break. When we come back, okay, that's your input cost. What are we going to do if we can't send all this food to China and some of these other countries? I'll talk about the tariffs on the other side, about the other side. He's my guy. He's farmer extraordinaire. He is Jerry Groskreutz. More right after this. All right, Jerry, two sides to this tariff thing. If we've got our stuff in that we need for inputs before the 25%, 50%, whatever they're doing in China, if that's here, that's good news, I believe, for the farmers. But now you're sitting here growing the corn and putting the soybeans on, and I don't know, you don't directly sell to China, but it goes in the big hopper. What do we think it happens there if China has a 50% tariff? They throw it on us. What are we doing there?
Well, we would probably have a really big negative market reaction. But two things. First, while those of us raising corn and soybeans, like me, sweet corn and peas, we got some time. My pork producing friends, my beef producing
Yeah.
friends, turkey producing friends, we export almost like a third of the pork that we produce here in Minnesota. So they could be hit early on. And if my pork producing friends get hit, Jerry gets hit too because I'm raising feed for my pork producing friends. So there's a
Gotcha.
lot of this. But I want to back up just one of my going back 50 years ago. I'm a
Okay.
dairy farmer, and Canada supports their dairy farmers. They have a quota system, very high price. Anything that they produce over quota, now the government has to get rid of it. So they would bring it to the US and, quote, dump it in the United States. And I'm thinking as a dairy farmer, so basically I'm competing against the
Zero.
Canadian federal government who's
Yep.
subsidizing their farmers, then dumping it here. And I'm thinking, how is that fair? But on the other hand, now, if I'm ordinary consumer and I'm thinking, well, that's a pretty good deal. Now you got a foreign country, i.e. Canada, subsidizing my food prices here in the United States. That sounds like a pretty good deal. So
And until that you play that out, and all of a sudden the dairy farmers in Minnesota can't survive. Now the cost of that's going to go up because they can make a crap load more money up here because there's no other milk. You put your, I think that's where Trump's going with this. I mean, he doesn't ask me. Is
yeah,
trying to make it happen here in America, and it might be a little more expensive at the front, but the difference is if they go away, car industry and the rest, it'll cost us in the long run.
and I can see how, like Canada, for example, national security thing that they want to be more self-sufficient in food from national
Sure.
security. I get that. But then on the other, like example, my son-in-law bought a year ago a brand new Indian motorcycle.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, and I read, I assume this is right. Sometimes you aren't sure if whatever
Yeah.
you read is
Yeah.
true, but a Harley Davidson that costs $30,000 here in the U.S. costs $60,000 in India because of 100% tariff on it. But
Yep.
yet India can come and sell Indian motorcycles over here and compete with Harley Davidson American. So I get where we have to reset this. And then I'm not sure, you're a historian, maybe you know this, but it seems logical to me that all this was set up way back after World War II. Europe was destroyed. And
Yes.
so we tried to give these countries favorable terms to help them develop. Well, and now President Trump is saying, gee, they're developed, and maybe we should make more things here. And maybe it was pointed out with the COVID shutdown, and we started thinking, gee, maybe it's not a good thing that our critical products like drugs and some other things
Yeah.
come from overseas.
No,
So
you're absolutely correct. We let it get started. We thought it was a way of presidents, I presume, back in the day, that companies could get a bit of a leg up on us, make a little extra money, build themselves up, and we don't have to, quote unquote, tax the American citizen and send checks. It was a way of not sending checks. Well, now we do that, and we send checks, and Trump's like, yeah, I think we're done with that. Let's get back to an even playing field. But back to with my last 2 minutes, if I could, Jerry. How much, I mean, there's so many people in the world, they eat so much food. China's a big one, I get that. But if China won't buy from us because of tariffs, they buy someplace else, won't your beans go there to fill that hole?
exactly, because
Oh,
the
okay.
second crop of beans is being harvested in the world right now, or just about done in Brazil. So China can say, we are never going to do any more business with the United States. So they go and they buy every bushel of beans that South America produces. Now, South America's other customers, there's only so many
That,
million metric ton of beans, so much corn. So then they are going to have to come to us.
see,
So in the big scheme of things, there's only so much. And the other thing is private business, private sector is very good about getting around things. So
yeah.
maybe the Chinese hire, some friend of ours in Europe somewhere to buy corn from us or
And
beans,
then resell it.
ship it right on through. So
Yeah.
in the big scheme of things, longer picture, I'm not that pessimistic. Maybe I'll be wrong, but there's only
Okay.
so much to go around.
Well, and that's why I wanted to ask you about it. That's why I love talking with you, Jerry, because you of course, you take it with lots of history and that sort of thing, but you are 100% correct. You're only going to grow so much. The only reason we see corn prices go up or down if there's a massive influx as far as, have a great crop or something or the other way. But people need so much food. The world is only so big and only so many people growing it. I love that perspective, my friend. I
And
am out of time. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
real quick, and also, why would China put huge import taxes on food that they would have to buy from us to hurt their own people? so they probably put it on something else if they really needed it.
Yeah, no, that it's very true. Jerry, love having you on the program. Appreciate you, my friend. We're running out of time. Get you back here next week.
We'll see you then. Good
All
luck,
right.
Franklin.
All right, thank you. You good luck planning. I know you want to get out there. Jerry Groskreutz, friend of the program. Love having him on. More right after this on the Al Travis Show.